Pillar Sports, and I'm your host here, Manny. And today we are going to be talking about Sir Jim Ratcliffe talking to Gary Neville about Manchester United. So the focus on this situation was, of course, the 12 months that Ineos have basically been taking over and running the club. And we're also going to talk about some of the key things that he said. I watched the 44-minute interview, but I do not want to come here and spill out exactly what he said because you can absolutely go watch it in the overlap. I want to target and focus on some things that really hit home. It really hit hard, and I felt like I would be doing a disservice to our community here on Pillar Sports if I do not address it. And I'm not even going to be doing a short form video. Yes, you can find a short form video on TikTok. However, I want to absolutely give the full context of this situation for you guys to understand, and based on my peripheral and how I see football, I really want you guys to pay attention with this one because it is quite important. So in the first quote that we are going to be looking at, and bear in mind I'm looking at my phone to give you guys the quotes, he says, you are in the beginning to see a glimpse of what Rúben Amorim can produce. I think you saw a glimpse of it against Arsenal. How many players against Arsenal on the bench did you recognize? Rúben is doing a super job. So this comes after Gary Neville basically asked, looking at the appointment of Rúben, do you like what you are seeing? And I'm paraphrasing in that situation. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe telling him, hey, look, Rúben Amorim right now has half a squad. He doesn't have the full squad. Majority of the meaty contract and the most expensive players of the squad are either injured or are currently out on loan. And he was basically saying that, hey, look, the way Rúben Amorim played against Arsenal in the second half, especially when Manchester United had a bit of confidence going for them, is the way that he brought Rúben Amorim to play. And you could see a bit of confidence, a bit of organization, a bit of ruthlessness, a bit of togetherness, a bit of fight. Like he mentioned the aid in heaven tackle, the delict tackle in that example. And he was not wrong in this situation because the second half was an exciting breath of fresh air. It was truly what you want to see Manchester United do every single day, every single game. That is truly what you want them to see. However, it is not what we see every time. But the idea is that in the summertime, when we are able to actually fill his squad up to the players that he wants to play, or he wants to fit this system, then we will see the Rúben Amorim that he bought. And that is what I think he was talking about in that situation. And so the second quote that he says was Sir Jim Ratcliffe on Sir Alex Ferguson's ambassador contract being cut. He continued, he says, I sat down with Alex and said to him that the club is spending more than it's making, that we are going to be in trouble if we can't afford to keep paying. We are going to be in trouble and we can't afford to keep paying him 2 million a year. I gave him time to think about it, and he came back 3 days later after speaking to his son and said, fine, I'm going to stand down. That's my decision. I think it's a very good reflection on Alex because he put the club before himself. He told Telegraph. This is one of the situations where I really don't think that they had to do it. I really don't think that they had to make this big of a decision right away. I think it should have been an understanding, and I think this is a little bit better in terms of actually seeing that Sir Alex was the one that made the decision to step away and to step back. But it's quite hard. It is quite hard to have one of the greatest managers, if not the greatest manager of all time, step back away from the club that he loves, away from the club that his foundation and his fingerprint is on every corner, every block that was laid, every mortar that was placed. It was really hard to see that. And I think that was a PR nightmare for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. And I don't think that they should have done it. However, it is done, and it just gives us a bit of glimpse of, well, okay, how did the situation actually go? And now we can actually tell, okay, this is where it went, and this is how it went. And Sir Alex actually understood in the situation, and it wasn't like he was fired. And so he continues, and this was a full interview. And if you guys want to kind of, I'm giving you guys a summary here, and I'm also giving you guys my point of view. But if you want to watch the full thing, it's on Gary Neville's account, and you guys could absolutely go check it out. Sir Jim Ratcliffe also says, keeping Eric Ten Hag and Dan Ashworth. He was asked, he says, these were both mistakes. It's a journey, and there's a lot of decisions that we have to make over the course of the journey, and we are not going to get them all right. So this is when he was asked about whether keeping Eric Ten Hag was the right decision or it was a mistake, especially after that FA Cup win. And he says, in hindsight, yes, it's a mistake. However, because of they were only 5 months into being at the club, it seemed like it was too soon to make that big of a decision. And I agree. I totally agree with that particular one. In that situation, I've always said this to a lot of a lot of people that are here on Pillar Sports. I said this. I think Eric Ten Hag should have stayed till the end of the season, and then we hire Amorim, because the team itself is in a transitional moment where the older players are leaving and some of the players that are younger are coming into the fold. And so I felt like it would have been better for Eric Ten Hag to be the one to see out the transition, and then Rúben Amorim come in with the fresh mind, with the fresh players there, and actually impact what he wants to do when it comes to winning. But of course, hindsight is 2025 or 2026 now, so it's a different matter and a different ball game in that situation. Now for Dan Ashworth, that was just purely a mistake. It was purely the wrong decision. They should have done their research. They should have done a little bit more on kind of understanding who Dan Ashworth was and understanding what he said. He used the word chemistry. He should have understood a bit more about who Dan Ashworth is and Dan Ashworth's style of doing the job before he hired him, because those two decisions were so costly, even more costly than all this penny pinching that he's doing. So the question continues, and he was asked about the job cuts. We found out, and he says, we found out that we had a body language consultant that was on £175,000 a year. And this was just crazy work. That was just crazy to even think about it, that we had a body language consultant that was on that amount of money a year is crazy. I don't even know, because what was he doing when Marcus Rashford had his body language was all the way messed up on the pitch? He definitely wasn't doing his job. And so I'm not even going to make a point of view on that situation. I think that was just a ridiculous hire. And that's where you see the situation where he comes and says the workforce itself is too big. It's too big. We need to be focusing on putting the money to the getting the right players instead of us ballooning the workers or the workforce that operates the situation. Now, I'm never for people losing their jobs, because these are real life people that depend on these jobs to feed their family. However, I also think there is a middle ground in this situation. He also asked, he said this was one of the key things. He says Manchester United would have run out of cash at the end of this year. By the end of 2025, after having put $300 million in, uh, if we bought no new players in the summer. So I don't know why they kind of wrote this like this, but I watched the video, and what he was saying was Manchester United were running out of cash in November. In November, Manchester United would have run out of cash. And even if Manchester United did not buy any new player in the summer, Manchester United was still going to be required to pay about 83 million pounds for the players like Anthony, Sancho, because you spread the payments around the players' what contract and stuff like that. And that was what he was talking about in that situation. Now, to talk about Manchester United running out of money, it is mind-blowing that the top three most cash-making club in the world, company in the world, business in the world is running out of funds. That only has to shine the light more on the Glazer family. And for the fact that you were the one to rescue them from this situation also shines a light on you. It also shines a light on you, and that is why it's tough, because now from this situation what we are going to see is, of course, we saw that 66 pounds of that concessions for kids is basically that we don't have any concessions anymore. He also says that next year the price of tickets will actually go up again. And yes, he was quick to say, oh, it's not going to go up that much. But he also said it's going to go up. And that is mind-blowing in my mind. It is crazy work in my mind that we see Manchester United in a situation where we produce and we give so much to the club is still asking so much of us, especially in a time where the team is not doing the greatest, the team is not doing the best. We are 14th in the league, and that is truly depressing to even think about. And so he continues, he says, I decided to start this Manchester United chapter as I really like Manchester United, my boyhood club. I believe that we can sort it out. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't do it. Would I? Question. I would sell it to the Qatars or something. Now, I think that was a little jab to just bring on the Qatar's name, because the Qatar was basically one of the two people that were actually going for Manchester United, and for that to buy Manchester United in general. So that was just like, there was really no need to say all that, but continue. Sir Jim Ratcliffe says, we gave Erik ten Hag the benefit of the doubt. It was the wrong decision. It was an error. I think there was some mitigating circumstances in having that decision, but at the end of the day, it was the wrong decisions. Hands up. I'm not going to lie. We have already touched on that situation, so I don't even want to go into that anymore. But let's just go into the next thing. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe continues. He says, I'm pleased for Marcus Rashford. He moved out of Manchester. It's probably a good thing for him. No doubt about it. And of course, this is when he was speaking with BBC on that situation. He continues and says, and this is the key thing. I was a little bit skeptical about the timing of this quote and the timing of this interview, just because of this. He says some players, and this is him referring to the players that he inherited, being that he just came in last year Christmas, he inherited these players. He says some players are not good enough and some are overpaid, but for us to mold the squad that we are fully responsible for and accountable for, it will take time. And he's right. He's not wrong about that situation. However, we are still in the business end of the season. It is quite hard for the owner of the club to criticize some of the players. And he also called names, likes of Casemiro, Anthony, Sancho, so many people. He called names. And all those things are not the best things in terms of morale boosting from your owner. It truly is not. So we'll see. We'll see how they take it, because it is a problematic situation that we are going for the Europa League and actually trying to get better in the Premier League table, and this is coming out right now. So that is truly a problematic situation. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe says, if you look at the players we are buying it this summer, we didn't buy them. We are buying Anthony, Casemiro, Onana, Hoyland, and Sancho. These are things from the past that we have inherited and we have to sort out. So now the question about sorting out, is it him saying he just has to pay it, or is he saying that he has to sell these players? Because when you're talking about those five names that he called, Anthony, Manchester United is looking at selling this summer. Casemiro, definitely. Onana is a little bit skeptical about that situation. Same for Hoyland. Sancho is definitely going out. So that is the situation on that particular quote. Sir Ratcliffe also says, if I actually look at the squad which is available to Rúben Amorim, and I think he's doing a really good job, to be honest. Amorim is an outstanding young manager. He's an excellent manager, and I think he will be at Manchester United for a long time. And this is a very, very huge vote of confidence from the owner of the club, from the person that is running the club, to Rúben Amorim. And this is good, because there's also one thing he said. He says the boss needs to be in charge of the dressing room. There is nothing better than you hearing your owner says, hey, he is going to be here for the long term. And that is one of the best parts of this entire interview. Now, there's one thing that I wished Gary Neville had asked him, because I think that was a good interview from Gary Neville. I think Gary Neville tried to be very stern and tried to also be very political in terms of the questions that was asked. Because, of course, Gary Neville also works with Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the rejuvenation of the south side of Manchester. And if you guys want to see my thought process about the rejuvenation of Manchester, it's on my LinkedIn. I'm going to be posting an article on there for you guys to actually read. So it is basically Emmanuel Pillar. If you want to go check it out. And the beautiful situation about this is, he should have asked, why not buy the entire club? Why keep the Glazers in power? Because the Glazers are still in power, whether we like it or not. Because Sir Jim Ratcliffe, yes, he is a good man. He is a boyhood Manchester United fan. However, he gave them what they needed. They needed reinforcement in terms of influx of money. And he gave them $300 million. $300 million and more. He's still putting in more money into the club. And that is what they needed to stay in power. Instead of him just putting in, and I'm not going to be pocket watching or telling him what to do with his millions. He is one of the richest men in the world, so he definitely knows more about money than me. However, as a fan, I would have loved to see him literally use this opportunity to just remove the Glazers quietly out of Manchester United and then fix Manchester United in the image that he wants to as a fan of Manchester United. However, we are still dealing with the debt. We are still dealing with them removing money from the club every single year. We are still dealing with the interest of the debt that is coming. We are still dealing with their bad decisions, bad decisions. And sadly, they are still in the rooms where those decisions are being made. So I do not trust that the decisions that they are coming out of Carrington is going to be any better. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. We have gone through all the talking points about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the interview that he had with BBC, Times, and Gary Neville at the overlap. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that comment down below, and hit that subscribe button so you guys do not miss anything that we have here on Pillar Sports. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.